A very good evening to you and welcome to this Monday edition of the Watchdog. My name is Vuyo Mvoko. It's the battle for the capital, Tshwane, where 107 wards are up for grabs. And with me this evening are representatives of the top 4 political parties in that metro. The Watchdog starts right now. Let me introduce you to the 4 gentlemen representing the ANC, the DA, the EFF, and the FF+. Starting with Dr. Tshwane, who is the regional secretary of the biggest opposition party in the metro, the ANC. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, the chairperson of the ANC.
Chairperson indeed. My apologies, sir. Silas Brink is representing the Democratic Alliance. Welcome to you too, sir.
Thanks very much, William.
And Thapelo Mogale is the EFF's regional secretary. Welcome to you too, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr.
And
Will.
last but not least, Grandi Thiessen, who is from the FF+. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for all of you for coming through. I'm going to start with you, Silas, as the people who are leading the coalition that is currently governing the metro. Rate your own performance, if you will. How well do you think you guys have done in the time that you've been in charge?
I think it's critical that the performance of the Democratic Alliance and the coalition that we lead in Tshwane be measured against what we inherited and what we have done with that inheritance. Twice now, the DA and the opposition parties who form part of our coalition have had to take over from an ANC administration in Tshwane. First in 2016, when we became the largest political party in Tshwane, the ANC was pushed under 50% of the vote. They became the second biggest party. And secondly, last year, when for 9 months the ANC provincial government took control of the city of Tshwane with the assistance of ANC councillors in council. And to answer the question, what we found in Tshwane was a 2 billion rand deficit in 2016, a string of irregular contracts, spending on show projects such as car washes invested by the municipality in parts of the city competing with private business. We found more than 900 people working in the office of the mayor, political appointees, and that is the legacy that we had to address. So we turned that deficit into a surplus within the first financial year. We reduced the people in the mayor's office to under 100. We cancelled irregular contracts. In many instances, we had to go to court to achieve that. And we achieved significant financial recovery of the city, placing us on a good basis to improve service delivery. And all of the indicators, the financial indicators, the value for money have indicated that, and also the improvement of services. But then the ANC never accepted their defeat in 2016 in Tshwane, started disrupting council meetings, crucial decisions couldn't be made. For 9 months, the ANC provincial government appointed an administrator. Before that period, the city had a surplus. After that period, the city had a 5 billion rand deficit. Again, reversing many of the gains. But within months, we've already succeeded in overturning that legacy. So no, things in Tshwane aren't perfect, but we are well on the way to recovery, and it's certainly a better prospect than taking the city back to where it was in 2016.
So, Dr. Mayepa, not only did you leave the municipality in a mess, you were disruptive when they were trying to fix the mess that you left behind.
Thank you, Vuyo, and thank you to the viewers today and to the panelists that are here. Vuyo, first of all, is that the African National Congress never left a deficit. There was a surplus of 600 million. I challenge you and the viewers to go through the Auditor General documents. You will see there is nothing like that. Mr. Silas Brink, unfortunately, has never been in council in the last 2 years. He's a member of parliament. They have sent him because the incumbent has failed to debate very well and explain what they have done. Like he just did, he never explained what you asked him, what they have achieved. At least he must tell you. He told you nothing. What has happened in the city of Tshwane Tshwane is that the DA with their coalition partners, the EFF and the Freedom Front, they have failed dismally to improve on service delivery, to run things in a way that it will have a marked improvement. For an example, what has happened in the city of Tshwane over the last 4 years, the ANC has never ran the city of Tshwane since 2016 to today. So whatever he is saying now that twice they took over from who? Because the only party that has been in charge as the party in Tshwane till today as we speak right now is the DA. But the biggest failure has been introduction of 4 mayors in the period of 5 years. You will remember there was Solim Simanga in 2016 when they started, who came with a very issue of clean governance. There was corruption and maladministration about Glad Africa, you know that, appointment of irregular people without qualifications, and so forth and so on. There was Mokhalapa, who went out with a very bad scandal, you remember that, sex in the city. Then they put an acting mayor who was called Mr. Tau, who's now defected to Mashaba. There's been a cocktail of problems. At the moment, as we speak, they are on the 4th person, who is Mr. Randall Williams, their candidate who cannot debate. That's why they deployed somebody from parliament. So in essence, what has been there, it has been instability brought by 4 individuals who came with 4 ideas and 4 budgets that really never had any impact in the townships and in our areas. But the ANC today is coming to this debate to provide solutions in terms of how can we build on what has been achieved over the last 16 years when really the metro was established in the year 2000.
Tapelo?
I hope I can respond to
Oh, you can, very briefly before I go to Tapelo, quickly. So correct something?
You know, Africa Check did a check on, did the ANC leave a deficit in Tshwane in 2016? Yes, they did, 2 billion rand deficit. The ANC provincial administrators took over from the period of March to October. The entire council was disbanded due to the conduct of the ANC. Glad Africa was reported to the municipal council by the DA executive mayor. It is the ANC that blocked effective disciplinary action against the municipal manager and council. They voted against it. So Dr. Mayepa, interestingly enough, wants to make remarks about the mayor. He is a member of the finance committee in Tshwane. He is yet to attend a single meeting of that finance committee, and you can check the minutes. So please, Dr. Mayepa, don't make remarks about who's absent. You aren't doing your job as a councillor in Tshwane, but now you want to take over and take us back to where we were in 2016.
Telling you in your face that you're not doing your job.
No, I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Did you attend those meetings?
No, but this is now disruptive, Voyo. There were no meetings this year of the finance committee. There were 3 meetings called, 2 were cancelled, 1 I was not available. So, but we are not talking about that here. We are talking about the record of service delivery for the residents. The gentleman has been talking for the past 10 minutes. He has never told you one thing that they have achieved. We can tell you about the record of what we have achieved. We have made sure that at least 85% of people now in the city of Tshwane and around the cities have piped water. 85.4% of people there who did not have electricity, they now have electricity. I mean, coming from a lower base of about 57.6% in 1996 to now, coming from a lower base in our urban centers of 44% of people who did not have pipe water, they do now. In the semi-rural areas, is 80%. That's what we were able to achieve. We were able to increase infrastructure and roads. We were able to put BRTs and other new things that were developed. The DA themselves, they put us under maladministration, malfeasance. They have raised, and you can check. And I want to, I spoke about the Auditor General. He talks about Africa Check. Auditor General is the authority in terms of audits of local government or any sphere of government. He must respond to the Auditor General and not respond to Africa Check. The fact of the matter is very simple, is that the African National Congress is coming here to give a report of what we had achieved during our time and what we think we can do, because both the coalition and all of them combined have failed. We are coming here to give solutions and not to complain about their failures. Their failures are documented and everybody in the country knows about them.
Tapelo Mkhale, they both claim to have done very well. Thank you very much. Do you agree?
No, I disagree, Mr. Mvoko. First of all, let me start off by correcting the lie that Dr. Mayepa just said now, that the EFF was in coalition with the DA. We were never in any coalition with anyone. It was clear from the beginning in 2016 that we made a commitment that we are going to vote with the opposition everywhere. So it so happens that in Tshwane, the opposition is the DA and others. So, but we were never in any kind of coalition with anyone.
But what exactly did that arrangement provide for?
We vote on an issue-by-issue basis. If we agree on particular issue like, for example, the insourcing of security guards, which the EFF has championed from 2016 until now, those kind of issues. So if we agree on this particular matter, we'll support that issue. But that is not a coalition.
But did you at any point during the course of the past 5 years, of this relationship, have conversations with the DA, for example, about how exactly you would like the metro to be run? Because a lot has been said about coalitions, people saying they don't work or they're not being managed well and so on. But from people who have hands-on experience, what has been your experience? Have you been able to sit as a coalition partner or let's say on an issue-by-issue basis and say, okay, on this issue, this is what we would like to see, you negotiate, and then you arrive at a position? How exactly has this relationship worked?
Look, the EFF is an opposition in the city of Tshwane. It's not in any coalition with anyone. So, like I said earlier on, if we agree on a particular issue, we will support that issue. We are in opposition. We have our agenda. We are pushing what we have made, the commitments that we have made in our manifesto. So we will take advantage of any opportunity to ensure that the things that are entailed in our manifesto also are given space in the city. They are also find expression in the budget and so forth.
But have you had instances where you've said, you know what, in the interests of, the people who voted us in, we owe it to them to say, approach the DA or approach the ANC and say, here's something we want to champion. Would you mind, us, discussing this or arriving at a solution, say, for a particular township or on a particular issue? Has that happened? Because people always wonder, how exactly do these relationships work? If you talk, even on an issue-by-issue basis, you're saying you're not part of a coalition,
yes,
but you vote on an issue-by-issue basis. Have you had instances, are there instances where you've been able to pick up an issue and canvass the support of the other political parties?
Yes, I mean, the issue of insourcing of security guards is an example. You would know that the EFF only has 25 councillors in council, and we don't have the majority to be able to pass those kind of issues without the support of other political parties. So in those kind of instances, of course, you would need to approach and maybe speak and have those kind of agreements to say this is the issue that we believe is in the interest of the people of Tshwane, and if all of us agree on it, then of course it will find expression.
Grandi Tshwane, what is your sense of how the DA-led coalition has done, and what has been your, let's start there.
Thank you, Vuya. I think, first of all, I'm not going to get involved in a mudslinging. I don't think it's what we should do. We should look at a positive future. What can we, as Freedom Front, bring about to make Pretoria or the capital a better place to live in? And we've got specific issues that we would like to address in taking us forward. We want to bring a fresh breeze into the city. We also coincidentally see ourselves, similar to your program's name, as the watchdog for the community. We are there for good moral values, first of all. We would like to create a climate where there's stable economy, growth with fair tariffs to the people of the city in such a way that the city can create we can create an environment where the city will be able to house good opportunities for job creation, because we think that's one of the primary reasons why there's a lot of decay in the city. It's because people cannot afford, and that was, for instance, one of the things that's very important to us, to create a sustainable environment and to bring across. And going back to one of the questions that you've asked the other people, yes, I believe, and we believe, we must negotiate, we must discuss. In my past, I can draw on my experience from the past where I was in a different town, also part of a minority group, And we had very successful discussions with the ruling parties, with the coalition partners, because we were willing to bring a solution to the table and put something forward. So it's all about being positive, finding some way that we can take the city forward to the next level, to make the capital, once again, a proud capital with a flourishing environment. So that would be our attitude and our approach.
But I'm still keen to get a sense from you as to where the municipality is at right now.
Well,
are they doing a great job?
If I can bring 3 points, I'll put 3 things. I don't think the administration in the city is what it should be. It's lacking because of a lack of political oversight. There are officials who are supposed to be at work, who have been suspended for a long period with enormous salaries. They have not been replaced, or they have not been dismissed. So it's taken a toll on the city's administration. So from that perspective, I think that's one of the places where we can improve a lot, is by creating a better environment, a better administration, also through appointing people on merit and not on a political affiliation basis. The guy must deserve to do the job, to serve the community. That's what it's about. Local government is there to serve the community. So we must sharpen our political oversight on the administration. That's the first thing. The second thing, taking the governance to the people. The city has failed to implement ward committee systems, where we actually should give people on ground level the opportunity to participate. And the legislation actually requires it. And until this day, that's non-existent in the city of Tshwane.
Silas, are you appointing people? Is the party appointing people, not on merit?
I think it's just important to mention, nobody can say we've done a great job in Tshwane. There is certainly a lot of work left to do. The first thing is there has to be value for ratepayers' money. There has to be good financial management. We can't be engaging in the sort of irregular contracts that form the legacy of Tshwane. The second thing is we have to invest in service infrastructure. For years and years, money was spent on show projects instead of investment in replacing substations, water treatment plants, the critical stuff that keep the lights on and the water flowing. And thirdly, I think the city must play a proactive role to assist people in poor communities to join up into the economy. That means housing opportunities and transport opportunities. So if you look at those 3 critical issues, I think the DA-led coalition and the Freedom Front Plus is a member of that coalition, has done all that we can in the circumstances, and despite massive disruptions and a refusal by the ANC to let go of power. But there is indeed a lot more to be done. And anybody who says things are perfect are living in a delusion. So let's just look at the one thing of critical infrastructure. And Dr. Mayepa asked, what have you done? Please give us the specifics. And I'm happy to do that now, because I think it's an important point. 20,000 households connected to electricity for the first time in several poor communities. 12,000 communities connected to water and sewage systems since we took office. 7,000 title deeds given to households that never had those title deeds. Investment in the Arieng bus rapid transit system, which the ANC never could complete. At least we've got a proper line between Wonderboom and the inner city that was recently introduced. The Mamelodi fire station is soon to be introduced, the Centurion taxi rank. So critical things have been achieved. Substations have been replaced, but indeed there is this massive backlog of service infrastructure, and there is still a lot to be done to make sure that there's value for ratepayers' money. Because a legacy of 16 years of failure is not going to be wiped out in 5 years, especially not under those circumstances. We look forward to having a 50% plus 1 majority so that we can erase the legacy of show projects and corruption and waste and mismanagement in Tshwane.
Chip in?
Thank you very much, Vuyo. It's quite interesting that the coalition, the real coalition partner of the DA, is giving a very terrible assessment of the performance of the DA for the past 5 years. This is the real coalition partner of the DA.
Was terrible.
It's very bad, Mr. Vuyombo. If I can tell you, ever since the DA took over there, service delivery to the people of Tshwane is non-existent. Right now, as I talk to you, members of the EFF are engaged in a clean-up campaign, cleaning up the wards all across the city of Tshwane. Why? Because the DA-led coalition is failing to do that. If you go to townships like Atteridgeville and see the state of those townships, you'll see garbage heaps lying all over. Why? Because the DA-led coalition is failing. So service delivery in the city of Tshwane under the DA has been non-existent. He's telling us right now about the surpluses and managing the finances and all of that. But what people care about, Vuyo, is at the end of the day, is the services. Are they providing the services? Are they removing the refuse? Are they ensuring that there is water supply? Are they ensuring that pipes are fixed, electricity is being supplied properly? When I speak to you right now, there are communities which are in the dark under the DA-led coalition.
Silas?
So if the gentleman from the EFF wants to join the mayoral cleanup, almost every weekend the mayor himself goes to different communities and he helps with cleaning up.
Yeah, because the city is failing. The city is failing.
Several informal communities are provided with cleaning services, but indeed, Vuyo, as I mentioned, there is a massive developmental backlog. There is still a lot to be done. The city has got a particular problem with landfill sites. The entire country is running out of landfill sites, and we have to find ways of encouraging recycling, separation at source. And so there's an initiative in Atteridgeville where we literally have a partnership with businesses to separate and to encourage recycling and to use that for manufacturing and commercial purposes. It was a project that started under the previous administration, but like so many, it took action and strong leadership to get it going. But certainly things aren't perfect, and there are many communities that still struggle with services that are not reliable.
It's not a matter of recycling. We're not talking about recycling. We're talking about refuse removal.
No,
a simple, basic thing like removal of waste. It's a nightmare for the people of Tshwane. It's a terrible nightmare.
So he wouldn't know. He wouldn't know because he wouldn't know because he's never been in government. He's never took responsibility.
You must not tell us about the mayoral project that the mayor is going around cleaning.
If you would give me some opportunity. So recycling is absolutely important, and it's poor communities that are part of this recycling business. Currently, as we speak, it is informal recyclers that are doing much of that work, and we need to partner with it.
We're talking about refuse removal.
You don't know anything about running something and taking responsibility.
Refuse removal,
and that requires
not just in townships, but also in some of the suburbs. It's a nightmare, It's a nightmare. If you go now in Ward 98, there are people, residents there, whose refuse has not been picked up for more than 3 days. More than 3 days. It's happening now. You would know if you're a councillor in the city of Tshwane.
No, sure.
Those are the realities that the people of Tshwane are faced with under the DA-led coalition.
Okay, let's hear from the DA's partner. Because you should at least carry some of the responsibility as coalition partners.
Obviously, as a coalition partner, it does not mean one is married to one another. We may differ from one another from time to time. So, yes, we are working together to make the city a better place. And as I said right in the beginning, that is our approach for this election, to make the city a better place. I also want to point out that there's very destructive type of actions and activities from the members of the EFF specifically. Now, it's creating a culture of destruction. People are breaking down infrastructure. People are throwing out dustbins in the streets when they are getting into a riot. And this is not a good image. It's not building. It's breaking down. And I think that's where the difference is. With the Freedom Front, from our side, we want to build. We want to build capacity between the different parts of the community. We've got a positive approach. We're going to do that in the future, as we have done in the past. If you look at our candidates across the country, we've got candidates of all races involved. People who are fed up of ANC governance in other towns. In one town, there's 9 black people as candidates for the Freedom Front. And why? If you speak to them, they'll tell you, we have had enough. You know, one of the other parties has got a very nice slogan at this stage. I'm gat full of politics. And that's what the people are. Because political parties are infighting instead of addressing the problem. Let's take away the infighting. Let's put together our efforts and make the city a better place. We can throw mud at each other as long as we like. But it's time that we take lessons from the mistakes that was made in the past and make it better going forward.
Tapelo, are you disruptive?
No, we are not disruptive. I take offense that you would say the EFF is doing all of those things of breaking down property and everything. He will know it's his people there in Senegal who invaded a police station and did the things that he's accusing the EFF of. The EFF has never done any kind of disruption or breaking down of things in the city of Tshwane. We are not those kind of people, Mr. Vuyo.
We're going to take a quick ad break. If you've just joined us, we are in conversation with the top 4 political parties in Tshwane. It's the battle of the capital. This conversation continues right after this. Welcome back. We're in conversation with the top 4 political parties in the Tshwane Metro. If they win the November 1 elections, what can we expect for the capital? Well, let's start with you, Dr. Mayepa. Now, you've chosen Tshwane as the place where your party is launching their manifesto, and from what your head of elections has been saying, you're really serious about taking back the metro. Have you ever done an analysis of what went wrong in the first instance, how you got to lose that metro?
Thank you very much, Vuyo. First of all, I just want to say that at least the viewers can see what kind of cocktail of problems we are faced with Tshwane. I mean, the decorum here shows you that how we lost respect as a city of Tshwane, as a capital of the country, with this kind of parties that are there. The African National Congress wants to bring decorum and respect back to the capital city. We have analyzed and understood where our problems are. That's why we're in a renewal process. You would hear that the president of the ANC, the President Ramaphosa, always speaks about renewal. We are engaged in a renewal process where we put competently qualified people to make sure that we interview. You'll know now that all the mayors of the ANC will be interviewed. There will be people to expect that we have certain kind of qualifications and experience so that they can be able to dispense services in a manner that is respectable and so on. But to answer your question directly, is that the ANC has learned from its mistakes that it has committed. We had a lot of challenges. I mean, challenges in terms of corruption, of maladministration, of councillors not engaging with communities. We know the things that we have done wrong, and clearly we accept and take accountability and responsibility, and we will want to renew that process and engage in a better process that is going to help us. I mean, as things stand today, we stand at 46% of our candidate as the African National Congress being a female ANC councillor representatives that are coming on board. There are many other things, people with disability and other people that we are bringing on board to renew the organization, but also to focus it on our historic mission of ensuring that we give a better life to all our people. We want, as the capital city right now, we want to be an example for the whole country. We want the ANC to be returned there so that we can provide services. The gentleman here has been speaking, especially the gentleman from the DA, he's speaking about the BRT projects that were started by the ANC. He's speaking about a whole lot of projects. You would know.
You couldn't deliver on it.
No, but this is unfair.
You couldn't deliver on it.
Okay, let him finish.
The DA is very emotional on this debate. I don't know why. But the
passionate.
point...
We are passionate.
No. Well, this is unfair for a debate. So the ANC is saying there have been 13.2 million people who were provided with human settlements, and that number was only 7 million when we started in 1996. There's been 5+ million people who have been formalized and given formal dwelling. So there are many other things that we had done in the past. We had mistakes of our internal problems. We are renewing and focusing externally to make sure that we continue on that momentum of building up. I can tell you right now that we will immediately extend the BRT system, that is the bus rapid transport system. He called it REN. It was named by the ANC. It was designed by the ANC, and we are going to the townships. And it's well established in the city by the ANC government that was there. We are going ahead now. There's a Tshwane house that all of them are housed at a new council that was built by the African National Congress government. So there's really a lot of things that we want to continue doing. I mean, the street lights don't work in the city of Tshwane. We want to immediately come in. Their coalition partners are fighting each other now because they have done nothing in the 5 years. It's 4 mayors who were brought and caused all these kind of problems. But the African National Congress is saying, as things stand today and right now, our main preoccupation is to make sure that people of Tshwane again regain trust, decorum, respect in the government, and make sure that we deliver services. We continue about the 85% of water, 85% of electricity, and we want to continue to make sure that we give people formal housing and dwelling. That we are doing. We gave service stands to many of the people of Tshwane today. They have service stands because of the African National Congress. They have formalized communities because of the ANC, and that's what the ANC will do, and that's what the ANC is promising to our people. And we can tell you now, as a final point on this round, I can tell you now, the ANC in Tshwane has went to communities. We have apologized for the mistakes we have done. We are asking our community to give us a resounding mandate, because we don't want coalitions, because this is what you get when you get coalitions.
Mr. Mvoko,
and people having this.
Is the last one to speak about the decorum. It is the ANC in 2016, when they did not want Tokoti Diza, who went about banning municipal properties in the city of Tshwane because they did not want Tokoti Diza to become the mayoral candidate of the ANC. So he's not qualified to tell us or to try to lecture us about decorum. He's the last one. He can't lecture us. And I'm glad that he's admitting to issues of corruption, that they even went to apologize to the communities of Tshwane. Why? Because under their leadership, it is them who failed the people of Hammanskraal. The people of Hammanskraal, even now, they are struggling with dirty water because of the ANC. The ANC was in power without any coalition. There was no coalition there when the ANC was running the city of Tshwane. So they have absolutely no excuse to say, no, we couldn't do this because there was a coalition or any kind of thing that prevented us. They had all the time to fix the problems that are facing the people of Tshwane. They failed. They failed. Now, why should they be given another term to come and govern the city of Tshwane when they have proven over and over and over again that they are an absolute nightmare, the same as the DA?
Well, talk then about what your offering is. I mean, what would you do if you were to be elected? Let's forget about them.
No, of course. The first thing that we will do is to address the issue of Hammanskraal. That has been an issue that has been a nightmare for many years. So the EFF makes a commitment that the first thing that we will do is to ensure that the people of Hammanskraal get proper, clean water. We also have a challenge there in Winterveld of poor electricity supply, or non-existent electricity supply, by the way, because the community is complaining that they are being supplied by Eskom. And we are saying when the EFF takes over, the municipality must then supply the people of Winterveld with electricity directly, so that when there are issues, it is the municipality that will then be able to resolve those issues directly, not with Eskom. So we are saying the people of Tshwane must trust the EFF. We have seen the two parties represented here, the ANC and the DA. We have seen their term of governance. We have seen what they have done for the people of Tshwane, and it has been absolutely nothing. Under the ANC, a shoe polish was being bought for 250. A tin of polish was being bought for 250. So why would the people of Tshwane want to return a political party that was doing such things? So we can't subject the people of Tshwane to that nightmare again, Mr. Mvoko.
Thank you, Mr. Mvoko.
Are coalition partners.
No, we're not coalition with anyone.
How many chances does a party need or want? Since 1995, right through to 2016, there were 14, 15 years for the ANC to show us and to build a city, which they didn't do. They didn't deliver it. As was also previously said, a coalition took over a city that was in distress. How many more chances do you want? Look at the ANC's track record. The past 24 years since they have taken over the government in this country. Look at the infighting. Even now, for this election, the ANC are talking of different factions. They have not united. So how will they go forward if they're not united even within themselves? But that's besides the point, sir. What are we going to do? We as Freedom Front will firstly try our best to create a conducive environment for the city to grow, to go forward. We do not want appointments of staff based on their political affiliation, because that's one of the basic problems in this administration.
Has the DA been doing that as well?
Yes,
No.
Maria Ocamp. The EFF is the one that exposed Maria Ocamp.
Okay.
The EFF exposed that lady who occupied a very senior position in the office of the mayor. He was here, he was talking about 900 people in the office of the mayor. They brought a person without a matric to become a group head, a senior executive in the office of the mayor without a matric. The EFF exposed
Can you
that.
finish?
Can I finish? Thank
finish
you.
this point?
Yeah. It must, if you want people to do a job, they must be qualified to do the job, irrespective of the race or their creed. You need people who are qualified to do that. There's a lot of people who have been ousted in the past. Bring some of those people back as mentors, because there's a lot of people within the administration that may have good potential. Bring them in to groom the next generation of administrators for the city. That's the type of approach that we must have. We cannot just keep on blaming each other. And as he said, the doctor said there, the ANC's apologized. But surely if you apologize, you must repent as well. It's not just a matter of apology, because tomorrow you go on and you re-apologize and you re-apologize. And that's been the tendency of the ANC government in the past 24 years in this country. They admit and they acknowledge that they have made a mistake, and tomorrow they make the same mistake again. There, look at the health minister now recently. First he denied, and then he admits. And so there's the one case after the other. You keep on apologizing. People are not going to believe you anymore.
So it's only fair that Celius gets to respond.
I think if you want a glimpse of where the ANC will take the city, look at the period of administration. Those 9 months. Clearance certificates weren't issued. No development happened. The collection rate collapsed. Critical services provided by the city just didn't happen, and he wants to wash his hands, Dr. Mayepa, and say, no. But they brought the former ANC mayor of the West Rand to be the administrator of the city of Tshwane. And now they say, no, we want to wash our hands. But getting back to the critical stuff.
Yes, because I want to say, let's not forget for a second what they did, what you say you inherited. Let's talk about what you are offering right now. So become the next administration. So it's after November 1, what will you be doing?
It's critically important that we acknowledge the fact that the lockdown and the lack of economic growth in the past decade has had a massive impact on local authorities. So the resources are limited. It doesn't help a party makes promises left, right, and center Those promises have to be costed, they have to be realistic, and we've got to start with the basics. As I mentioned, the investment in water infrastructure, in electricity infrastructure, because if you don't get those things right, the power outages and the water losses and the water outages are just going to increase. The sewage spills are going to increase. It's because those things weren't done in the past 2 decades that many of the service outages we experience today is a reality. Secondly, we've got to ensure that the limited resources of the municipality are spent and managed wisely. The DA has got an excellent record in the financial management, not just of the city of Tshwane, but other places. We took Tshwane from a deficit to a surplus. Now, people say you can't do anything with a surplus, but that is the basis for improving services in outer years. You have to deliver value for money for ratepayers. And lastly, he spoke about these projects such as Arieng, bringing people closer to work, creating opportunity, and I want to add to that, gap housing. People who don't qualify for RDP housing, and we know that because of the budget cuts by national government, all that money is going to SAA. We won't see much RDP houses anymore. It's critical that government partners with the private sector to provide gap housing close to places of work, and that's what we're doing in Marabastad now and in other parts, giving what is called the missing middle an opportunity, a foothold in the economy. Those are the critical things that need to be done in Tshwane, and the DA is the party that will get it done if only we have that critical 50% plus one majority.
Yeah. Thank you, Vuyo. I think at least now we had a fair share of debate of the mediocrity. Let's just deal with the proper issues. Vuyo, first of all, is that there was a special planning of apartheid system. That's how Tshwane was. That's why the townships and the city at the center. The African National Congress has, although it's slow, we have changed that spatial planning to build housing next to the city. People with the transportation, I spoke about the BRT, they talk about it because there's nothing to talk about from their side. But we also want to bring an eclectic process of intervening in Tshwane from a human capital, from a finance. The coalition that was there failed in their fiduciary duties. What I mean by fiduciary responsibility, I mean the duty of care, the duty of skill. The city is taking money from John to pay Helen because the city is bankrupt. The city of Tshwane is bankrupt. It's being recorded, it's on record. Even the mayor says himself.
Administrators
but this is unfair. This is disruptive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please don't disrupt.
The ANC has never run Tshwane since 2016. Everybody knows that in South Africa. This is the coalition that ran Tshwane, so there's no confusion. There was never an ANC mayor from 2016 to 2021. There is no
20 years.
But this is what I'm saying. It's unfair.
More than 20 years running it.
So now the ANC has a clear agenda to make sure that we go back to the framework, we cut down on the special planning, we bring people's housing next to the city, we continue with our agenda to make a capital city, this capital city, have decorum, respect. We are housing the third largest embassies in the whole world after New York and United Nations, here in London, here in Tshwane. So Tshwane must be a very serious city in the world. We don't need this mediocrity. We are saying, as the African National Congress, vote for us, give us majority. We have a track record, we have experience, we have done these things before. We just had some hiccups and we have apologized.
Mr. Mvogo.
No. What we are saying today is that with all our mistakes, we think we're still the best people, and we know that. We know we're going to deliver.
The people of Tshwane cannot entrust the political governance of the city
with humility and respect
to a political party.
With humility and respect. The African National Congress is the party with experience, with understanding of what must happen, with a plan in place, and to give a better life for our people. And that's what
Mr. Mvogo, the people of Tshwane cannot entrust the political governance of the capital city again to the ANC. I think that will be a fatal mistake. It will take us back. The ANC, as we speak right now, we have had 3 councillors of the ANC being killed because of the internal whatever shenanigans that are happening amongst themselves. 3 councillors of the ANC which have been gunned down under very mysterious circumstances. So how do you then entrust the political leadership of the capital city to a political party that is beset with this kind of internal problems? How do you entrust such a heavy responsibility to a political party like this one? He's speaking about dealing with the issue of the spatial planning, the apartheid era spatial planning. I will tell you right now that he's not qualified to even speak about that because they have failed. They have failed. They are the ones who built RDP houses in the old townships that were built by the apartheid government. They built RDP houses in those townships. Why they didn't build those houses when they took over and build those houses next to the city center? They reinforced the same apartheid era spatial planning that is now trying to tell us that they are rectifying. How can they rectify something after 16 years when they could have dealt with this immediately when they took power?
Now, very quickly.
Just very, with all due respect, and many of the points made by the gentleman from the EFF are quite correct. But let's not absolve the EFF here, because often they behave as a faction of the ANC. Now, you want to ask me, don't entrust someone. Don't entrust a party that has been connected by investigative journalists to the VBS scandal.
No.
Do not bring the EFF close to the fiscus of the city of Tshwane. And another item, we're talking here about responsibility, taking responsibility for the future, creating opportunities for people in an orderly environment. The EFF has encouraged land grabs. They do this continuously,
yes, and will not apologize
and this
about that,
creates chaos. This creates chaos.
Will not apologize.
Not for people living in suburbs.
Not apologize.
The land grabs happen. The land grabs happen in Mamelodi and Hammanskraal. People with bonded houses, black South Africans with bonded houses, suffer because land grabs take portions of land away from people where reservoirs are meant to be built, where housing is meant to be. No, this is the party of chaos. They are a faction of the ANC. Please do not try and absolve yourself from the chaos that you were part of. Okay? VBS, that's all we need to say. VBS, keep it away from Tshwane. Please, keep VBS
Okay, gentlemen. Okay, gentlemen.
Informal settlements.
Granted, it's like we have last couple of minutes left. What I want to ask all of you is, what happens if the voters don't give any one of you the 50+1? What's going to happen?
The African National Congress is confident of victory because you can see...
Say you don't get it.
Yeah. That will be on hindsight. Let me just say first what we're expecting, what we're working on. The African National Congress is working on 50+. The results show that in 2019 there were national elections now, and then the metros were counted separately as metros. The African National Congress on a national ballot got 49.5, and the other parties went down. So the African National Congress, as things stand right now, it got more votes than it got in 2016 in Tshwane. There are more people voting for the ANC now in Tshwane. We are confident of victory. If we don't get victory, we would obviously speak to other parties that can work with us with our idea of giving a better life, or with our renewal agenda that we are engaged in. You have listened to this gentlemen who are here complaining about the ANC, and ANC was never government for 5 years. They were government, but they are complaining about the ANC. The ANC has a plan. The ANC is well grounded. The ANC has ideas. We are in a very big, humongous project to inject investment in the city of Tshwane, and we will avail it as part of our manifesto when we do our regional manifesto. So the ANC is confident, and it will work with other parties who have same vision of a better life for all.
So do you think you've managed this coalition well?
The first really successful coalition in South Africa was the one that Helen Zille had in Cape Town, with hordes of parties, and I think with a majority of one. And it was quite a chaotic situation, but that was sort of the first steps of coalition politics, and that was a relative success. We were able to leverage that to build something bigger. But coalitions are inherently chaotic. You've seen the type of interactions here. You must watch what happens in Tshwane council meetings. This is child's play, or this is high decorum compared to the chaos. And often coalition partners do have smaller interests which they try and leverage against bigger parties. So to say let's go for a coalition is not the answer. Let's go for a clear mandate, and that's what the Democratic Alliance
But in the
has
event
asked
you don't
for.
get it,
But
what
if
then?
we,
What are you going to do? Because people can't
Yes.
suffer because as political parties you
Absolutely.
can't find one another.
And you know, that is the choice that we faced in 2016 in Tshwane, where no party got an absolute majority. We're the biggest, the same in Joburg and Nelson Mandela Bay. And in those circumstances, you have to say, this is our agenda. These are the things that we prioritize. How can we form an arrangement with parties who share our basic principles? And it doesn't help you to form any sort of coalition or arrangement with people whose basic principles you do not share. So that is what we'll aim for. We'll try to form that arrangement, but our core message is do not split the vote for change. Let's have a consolidated, strong opposition that represents the progress that we've made in 2016. The more that vote is split, the more chaos is invited and the longer it takes to make progress.
What would be your approach in the event no one gets an outright majority?
No, we as the EFF were preparing ourselves for a total takeover. We believe that the people of Tshwane, after 27 years of being governed by the ANC and the DA in Tshwane, they have seen what these two political parties have delivered. And I think now it is very clear that the only political party that can bring about service delivery and change in the city is the economic freedom fighters. So as the EFF, we are not preparing ourselves for anything less than 50% in the city of Tshwane. So that is our mindset. That is how we are approaching these elections. We are talking total control of the capital city.
But of course, I mean, the people will have a final say. So in the event they don't give you what you're gunning for, what's going to be your attitude towards these other political parties? Because at the end of the day, people can't suffer because you didn't get what you wanted, and don't like these other people next to you. So what's going to be your attitude in the event the voter gives you something different from what you desire?
No, I think, like I said, Mr. Vuyo, we are preparing ourselves for a total takeover. We believe the people of Tshwane are convinced of what the EFF has to offer. We believe this is the opportunity and we are going to seize it. We are going to take over the city of Tshwane.
Grandi, what have you learned from coalition politics, that which presumably you hope to change in the event you could get into a similar situation to the one you're in right now?
Yes, first of all, I can say, obviously, one learns from mistakes from the past. And we as Freedom Front, we know and we acknowledge we actually a party for a minority, and we stand for the rights of minority of people. So we are not expecting to be, we must be realistic. We're not expecting to do like the other three people here, to expect to win. But there are other mechanisms that can be brought into place. For example, the Structures Act makes provision not for an executive mayoral committee, it makes provision for an executive committee, which then needs to be put together on a proportional basis. Now, I've had personal experience from that in the past, where it was a option that was actually working, because now there's not more blaming you are opposition and you are ruling, but we have to make things work for the people of Tshwane. And that will be our attitude. And we will contribute to parties with similar principles than we have. We will work together with them. But if the worst case arises and nobody can form a proper coalition, then I say, let's look and go to the Premier and go to the provincial legislator and say, you know what, let's do away with this winner-takes-it-all approach. Let's rather go for the approach where we as party can contribute in a council of unity for all portions of the community, and we will there be able to look after the interests of our people that we are representing.
Gentlemen, thanks to all of you for coming through. All I can say is may the best party or may the best candidates win. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation. That's the battle for the capital, Tshwane. Do join us again next Monday when we will be in the city of eThekwini. But the program continues, of course, for the rest of the week. From me and the rest of the crew, have a good night.